pretty exciting weekend in the NHL. A lot of big headlines to get to. So let's start with what I think a lot of people were expecting to be the, in quotes, game of the weekend. Toronto versus Edmonton, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Leafs, Oilers, always entertaining. And it was entertaining. A 4-3 final, OT winner for Mitch Marner. But what stole the show was the Ryan Reaves hit on Darnell Nurse. He ends up getting a 5-game suspension for the blow to the Oilers defenseman's head. And Frank, was it deserved? Was that 5 games the right call from the league?
100%. I mean, one of those ones where you see it in real time. Reaves knows it. The Toronto Maple Leafs know it. The Department of Player Safety knows what's coming. And look, we've determined many years ago that this type of hit is not acceptable in the NHL. I don't believe for 1 second that Ryan Reaves was barreling down the ice after the Leafs allowed a goal. They send him out there for energy, and his thought process is, here, let me just pick the chin of Darnell Nurse and send him into last week. I don't think that's the case. But what we have here is a poorly timed, poorly executed hit that clearly clips him right in the head that we know is no good. So the punishment seems to fit. Now, I've seen some people saying, well, this is the same as the Tanner Jeannot hit from a few weeks ago. Why does that one get 3 and Reaves gets 5? Well, he has a previous history that's pretty significant. So that checks. And to think that this needed to go further, to go to in-person or extend it even that much longer, I don't think that's the case. I think 5 sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it is too. You mentioned history there, and where I'll sit here and say Ryan Reaves is not a bad person. You could see him at the end of that clip kind of touching his chest, and during the game he was saying like, "Hey, that's on me."
He actually went down the hallway during the third period while he wasn't playing, obviously, to personally apologize to Darnell Nurse, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, and Darnell Nurse not going to play tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, which is a shame because really, Frank, as someone who watches every Oilers game, it's been a calendar year since we've seen Darnell Nurse play quality hockey. He'd been doing that for the last couple of weeks, so poorly timed on that front for the Oilers and Nurse. For the Leafs, they end up getting an overtime win, and man, it's been no Auston Matthews, no problem for Toronto. 5-1 without their captain in the lineup, and the goals for totals aren't really jumping off the page, even though Mitch Marner's been on an absolute heater. 1.83 goals against per game in that stretch is wildly impressive.
Yes, and so is Anthony Stolarz, who continues to steal the show. His numbers have been ridiculous. He's a big reason why the Leafs are 8th in the league in goals against. But Marner, to your point, has really taken the bull by the horns here. You mentioned the 6 games that Auston Matthews has missed, 10 points in that stretch. And you watch that sequence in OT, and it's an emphatic statement from Mitch Marner that he's someone that can step up and be this team's, best player when Auston Matthews is out. And so it's a conversation worth having. Again, we don't know where it goes and what that means moving forward for the long haul. But to me, when you look at this situation that the Leafs are in with Marner, like everything that happens in October and November and even March and April doesn't really matter until you get to the playoffs. That's when the statement needs to be made. We know that Mitch Marner can deliver in big moments in the regular season. We know that for the last few years, he's been one of the top 10 or 20 forwards in the NHL, depending on how you want to slice it. But can you produce in the playoffs? That's all that matters.
Mark Masters sending on an update on Auston Matthews from head coach Craig Berube. Matthews did not skate the last couple of days, and Berube said, quote, "It's a bit of a holding pattern. He's not getting worse. That's a good thing. It's just taking time. It's taking long, but it is what it is." So we'll see how much longer it is until Matthews is back in the lineup. But for now, I mean, the Leafs are just going to look to keep humming.
Yeah. And you know what? We had an interesting Daily Faceoff roundtable on dailyfaceoff.com over the weekend. Because of the number of games that Auston Matthews is missing, if we're going to declare a new Rocket Richard winner this season, who would get your vote? Like, who would you give the edge to?
Man,
I mean, Reinhardt's a good choice. Go through the Ovechkin's tied for the league lead. He could, I guess, hang on. But the guy I said for me that's not getting nearly enough love is Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah, and just kind of going and checking out the odds boards here. Kaprizov's still 12-1. I mean, the idea that he's kind of just saying, hop on, boys, and I'll carry you through here because he's doing the bulk of the scoring for that Minnesota Wild offense. That's not a bad one. I mean, Leon Draisaitl's second in the odds boards right now. If he's dialed in like he was, what was it, 3-4 years ago, he has a really good chance. But it will be kind of fun. Like Matthews, as great as it is to watch excellence, he's ran away with that award the last few years. It'll be fun to see a good race.
Only McDavid or Matthews has won the award since 2019. So it's gone back and forth, and that's kind of, I don't know, not disappointing, but it's boring. So, I mean, I look at Kaprizov, a guy who his first full NHL season, 47 goals. Like, you mean to tell me he can't do it?
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.